The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Jonathan Lekkerimaki, doubted by many after he was drafted by the Vancouver Canucks. But guess what? This guy, he could be the next Trevor Zegras. No Trevor bias involved here.
Whoa.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, the co-host of Locked On Canucks and also a Canucks writer since 2013, currently with a Daily Hive Vancouver. Before we dive into today's episode, I'm excited for it. We got to thank you for tuning into Locked On Canucks. You know why? Because it is your Canucks every damn day. Part of that Locked On Podcast Network. They're doing the most for sports fans across the world and for our show. If you haven't done so already, what are you waiting for? Make sure you go subscribe, like, follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Before we dive into some Jonathan Lekkerimaki love and the first edition of Fan Friday on a Thursday, we got to let you know that today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms, they do apply. It's rosterbation season. And no, I meant to say rosterbation. It's rosterbation season here in July.
Grab the lotion.
You know, it's the time of year where we're trying to figure out what is the Canucks roster going to look like next season. I think as we get into next week, Colin and I will do some legitimate lineup projections for you. But I think one big elephant in the room in terms of the Vancouver Canucks is even though they went out and they acquired Jake DeBrusk, they acquired that top six winger, the Canucks probably could use another top six winger to go with this group. Now, is Jonathan Lekkerimaki an option for the top six? That's what we wanted to discuss today. You know, I think every day, as they probably heard me say it before, I think the odds are stacked against Lekkerimaki. But let's dive into some parallels here. You know, looking at past World Juniors MVPs, other 19-year-olds in Sweden in the SHL, and comparing them to what Lekkerimaki did. Because I think Lekkerimaki's chance of playing NHL games next season, or even starting the season with the club, might be better than all of us think. Before we dive into that, let me introduce my co-host, Flex Bowen, DJ Flex Bowen, dropping tunes on Instagram yesterday. Buddy, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm living the dream at the studio, the Don't Doze Art Lab. Being able to talk about the West Coast bias day in and day out, being able to talk about your Vancouver Canucks day in and day out, morning after morning, super blessed. And here we are doing what, Trevor? What are you doing, Trevor? What are you doing? Comparing Jonathan Lekkerimaki to Trevor Zegras. You know why I kind of like that? Because, man, this team kind of needs some flair in their top six. I know Zegras is, quote-unquote, not as much of a darling as he was prior in his career, like early on in his career. But, man, oh, man, some flair, some excitement, some just, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, just like some high-end skill in the top six would be nice, okay, for real. I want to see what a little bit of that would look like in Tocchet's system, right? Because you look at Miller, you look at Besser, they kind of just mastered the whole bump and grind thing, right? Look at somebody like DeBrusk who they brought in, even Höglander, right? Straight up. But what if they need somebody with a bit more flash and just a top-end shot to really get a guy like Pettersson going? And you never know, right? You never know. I'm pretty sure Pettersson and Lekkerimaki speak the same language. You never know. There could be something there, and I'm really, really excited to, see what Trevor's done here with a bit of his research. Like, what mid-round picks 2 years later make the team and make an impact? What World Junior Championship MVPs do the same, Like, is there a path for Lekkerimaki to be a really good player on a really good team ASAP? And my burning question is this. Isn't it really important for this team to see what they have in this winger prior to Brock Besser being a UFA?
Yeah, I think that is. And I won't say it's hugely important, right? Because I still think, and I'll say, I think Lekkerimaki, the odds are stacked against him to have a huge impact for this team next season. But I do think he's going to get a chance to play some NHL games. And I think there's two things I want to look at. Let's look at the World Juniors past MVPs first. Right now, you have quite a few MVPs on this list who win, when they're not 19, right? Connor Bedard, Mason McTavish, Alex Lafreniere. That's three of the last four winners actually won when they were 18-year-olds. Trevor Zegras, though, the last guy to win when he was 19 years old, and he had a hell of a World Juniors that time. He had 7 goals and 11 assists, 18 points in 7 games. Now,
Holy.
Jonathan Lekkerimaki didn't quite have the same production, He had 7 goals and 10 points in 7 games, but it's nonetheless named the World Juniors MVP. And, I think a lot of casual Canuck fans were watching that. He was electric. After, a disappointing draft plus 1 season, after a disappointing World Juniors performance the season before. And even watching some of his tape at the SHL, I think the guys did a better job of just not playing perimeter hockey, getting to the inside. And this is going to be an adjustment to the North American game. But, I'm intrigued by the comparison to Trevor Zegras, because these guys are obviously both offense first guys.
Yeah.
Trevor Zegras a bit more of a playmaker, Lekkerimaki a bit more of a pure goal scorer. But Trevor Zegras, you know what he did the year after the World Juniors? He stood up for the Anaheim Ducks and put up over 60 points. I'm not saying that's what Lekkerimaki is going to come in and do, but I think Lekkerimiki's got the talent to come in and score some goals in the NHL next season.
Yeah, 100%. I believe that too. It's just a matter if Tocchet trusts him, because there's so much, I want to say pressure on the Vancouver Canucks, but there's a standard that's raised, right? And the ability to be a two-way player. ASAP is so important to how this team wants to play. Now, maybe, just maybe, right? In the beginning of the season, maybe there's a trial and error process where Tocchet's a bit lighter on his leash and allows for, again, Lekkerimaki to learn on the fly if he does make the team, if he does beat out Niels Höglander, right? Or, Danton Heinen for a top 6 spot, right? Because you could see Lekkerimaki possibly play with Besser and Miller. You never know. You get what I'm saying? All we're trying to say is, bro, some flash, and we're not seeing that with Jake DePress, right? Like, there's speed, there's skill, but there's still a guy who played a lot of minutes with Bergerons and Krejci and Marchand and Pasternak. We're still seeing a guy who, again, a 60-point guy. Like, more flash is needed, more sexiness, more swagger, more bar down, more just blatant offensive ability is needed still on this team, and that leads there to be like a small chance that Lekkerimaki can do it. Now, Trevor, again, any mid-round picks making an impact in, like, what would you call this? Like, draft plus 2, draft plus 3 season. Like, look at what just happened with like one of the Buffalo Sabres prospects, right? Same draft as Lekkerimaki, drafted 9th overall and gets traded. So, like, how often do we see like these mid-round picks actually make an impact on a really good team?
Yeah, and I think when you say mid, you mean mid first round picks, obviously, right?
Yeah, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, I mean, I think look at Brock Besser. Brock Besser is a shining example in the Canucks of a guy who stepped in. I believe it was his draft plus 2 season where he played NHL games, but he was a full-time NHLer by his draft plus 3 season. For the most part, it takes these guys more than that, right? Like, let's just look at the 2021 draft for insurance, the year before Lekkerimaki. I mean, there is one mid-round pick who's tearing it up in the NHL right now, and it's Wyatt Johnston of the Dallas Stars. Pretty much every guy drafted after 12th overall, they're pretty much all still trying to figure it out. There's no one who's really cemented themselves other than a couple of late second-round picks, right? So the odds are stacked against Lekkerimaki in his draft plus 3 season to make a big top 6 impact. Again, Wyatt Johnston was the only guy from 2020 to do so, but it happens, right? We saw a number of guys do it from that 2015 draft. Besser was one of them, but a lot of other guys did it as well. Now, I wonder if a better comparable, again, I'll bring up one more name from past World Juniors MVPs. I mean, looking at this list, there's guys that are NHL stars and there's guys who just haven't worked out at the NHL level, right? Looking at it, it's, Thomas Chabot was a past winner. Philip Forsberg's a guy I want to bring up, Evgeny Kuznetsov. But there's also guys like, Ryan Poehling, Casey Middlestat, who's a serviceable NHLer, Jesse Puljujarvi, Dennis Godlove, the Slovakian goalie. So there's guys that definitely haven't made it among MVPs. But Philippe Forsberg's an interesting one I want to bring up. So Philippe Forsberg did win World Juniors MVP when he was 19 years old. The following season, he played 13 NHL games for Nashville with 1 goal and 5 points, mainly spending the season in the AHL, where he posted, 34 points in 47 games, respectable numbers, nothing that blows you away. It was the following season, I guess that would be his draft plus 4, where he, really cemented himself as an NHLer. He went from that, 1 goal and 5 points in 13 games to 26 goals, 63 points in 82 games. I think that's probably a more realistic time frame and comparison for Lekkerimaki. I think he's a guy who can play NHL games next season, get a cup of coffee, get a few points, get his feet wet, and probably make a bigger impact in 2026. I think the last thing I want to bring up there is, Lekkerimiki's season last year was pretty unreal, right? He had 31 points in 46 games of the SHL. That's the 14th best season ever by a 19-year-old in the SHL. Elias Pettersson still with the best season all time by a 19-year-old player in the SHL. lots of stars above him on the list, right? There's Pedersen, Forsberg, the Sedins, Nick Backstrom, Marcus Naslund, Thomas Gerdine, a lot of Canucks there. But I think there's some cautionary tales, and one of the big ones is Emil Bemstrom. Emil Bemstrom scored at a very similar rate to Lekkerimaki. And then the following season, he went right to the NHL with the Columbus Blue Jackets, had 10 goals, 20 points in 56 games. He kind of flamed out since, right? Like even last season in Pittsburgh, bounced between, actually, he moved from Columbus to Pittsburgh, but really hasn't found his footing in the NHL, despite scoring at a similar rate as Lekkerimaki. So there's a cautionary tale, right? You don't want to rush this guy like Emil Bemstrom was rushed to the NHL. Like if he's not ready, and especially on this Canucks team that has some depth, they know they have a hole in their top six, but they have depth. There's no need to rush Lekkerimaki to the NHL. But let's see what he can got. And I don't think his odds of making, I think his odds of cracking the Canucks out of camp are probably sub 50%. But I certainly think he's got a chance, especially when you look at the profiles of other guys in his age group and among World Juniors MVPs.
No, he definitely has a chance because of just like a glaring hole in the type of player in their top six. It's like a 20% chance. That being said, Trevor's onto something, right? You don't want to rush this guy. You want to take your time. You want this guy still to get used to North American ice and just even have some success at the AHL level. This all being said, he's going to get an opportunity because guys like Podkolzin got an opportunity last year. Dude, R.C. Baines got so much time with JT Miller last year. There's going to be a time where this guy gets similar opportunities. And I'm telling you, if he just contributes offensively and he's on the stat sheet, he may stick around. And again, we bring up this whole Brock Besser thing. They need to know what they have in this winger before Brock Besser goes out and demands $9 million a year. Different player too. Like Brock Besser's a two-way force. Like there's a different style of player, and you can have both on your team. But they need to know what they have in this guy. They also need to know what they have in this guy because OEL after this season's going to cost almost $4.5 million. So they need guys that are making less than $1 million to have huge impacts on this team that's transitioning to be a perennial contender. And lastly, the obvious. This team sucked at scoring goals in the second half of the season. It wasn't as easy for them to do so. If you add a guy who just has it in his blood, this is what he's known for. Going bar down, having just a big shot. Adding this guy to the system, adding this guy to the repertoire. It's a bit of a wild card. It really is. And I would even add this. Like it's probably the biggest burning question regarding this current version of the Vancouver Canucks because we just traded a first round pick, right? You know what I'm saying? Like we didn't have a draft pick in the first round this year. If the Canucks are contenders and you see this team and you see like the hole they have in their top four and in their top six in general, you're looking at this team trading another first round pick this year. And I feel as if a lot of people are pretty certain on Willander doing his thing, whether it be in Boston or with Abbotsford at the end of next season and maybe with the Canucks in 2025. But there still seems to be a bit of a, what is Lekkerimaki? Is he going to be super impactful? And if he does, he just adds to this team being good for a long time. Because if they can't replace Besser, and if they also can't just get entry-level contracts turning into grand slams during this OEL buyout, which is going to look horrible, it's going to be hard to climb up the ladder. It really is. Anyways, Kyle Bout and Trevor Beggs. We'll talk more about Lekkerimaki in the summer. On the other side, we got Mother Knucker, straight from America, probably the biggest American Canucks fan out there. We got him on the program today. He's part of the Discord. He's part of the family. He's a big supporter of the program. And we're going to do this, man. We're going to talk to the fans every Friday, all summer long, maybe even just all year long. Okay. So some people say they're too ugly to go on this show. Like I've heard that in the Discord, like they don't want to go because they feel like they're too ugly. I'm telling you, good lighting changes everything. Okay. For real. It does. And ugly is beautiful. It gets 2024 straight up. Anyways, Beggsy, who we shouting out on this episode of Locked On Canucks?
Yeah, for the fans, no need to feel insecure. I mean, both Kyle and I are girls love to show the girls. So it's all good, baby.
Yeah,
let's shout out our friends at eBay Motors and get to the legend himself, Mother Knucker, here on Locked On Canucks. Hey, when it comes to eBay Motors, you know the deal, baby. It's passion, it's drive, and it's patience. That's the formula for winning championships, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, in-seat bidets, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts to choose from for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash, baby. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Oh, yeah, baby. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaybonus.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay guarantee fit only available to U.S. customers. America.
People, Kyle Ball and Trevor Beggs about to be joined by Mother Knucker in a couple minutes. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. This is Locked On Canucks, and we give you this energy every day, okay? It's your Canucks every day. Again, hit the subscribe button. It really does help us out a lot. Just like Mother Knucker was saying in the comments, right? Hit the like button, support the channel so me and Trevor can get closer and closer to taking our girls, aka the loves of our lives, on more double dates to Cactus Club, okay? That's the goal of the show, okay? For me and Trevor to actually hang out in person, okay? You seen the inflation? You seen the numbers in the Lower Mainland? Me and Trevor can't afford to see each other. We live far apart. We got bills to pay, okay? He's got a family. Okay, I got a girlfriend. Do the math. It's impossible. But the more likes we get closer and closer to that, man. One love. One love to everyone watching the show. And again, one love to Mother Knucker. Let's add him to the program here on Locked On Canucks. So what are we going to call this segment? Who knows? You see that? Sunflowers, man. That's how I feel about this friendship I have with not only Trevor Beggs, but with Mother Knucker, who's joining us from where? Where are you, dude? Your mother's basement in Dallas? Like, well, where is this, man? This is looking cool, man. You're living the dream right now in America.
Well, I'm proud to be an American where at least I drink energy.
Hey.
And I have a Norris Trophy winner who locks it down on D, and I'll proudly stand up. Okay, that's about it.
Oh, wow.
There you
Nice.
go, man. Mother Knucker, man. American hero, man. American hero. I guess, we can start this conversation with our fans in so many different ways. And I didn't expect you to do that off the jump, but I'm going to stick to the plan, okay? The first question you got to ask any Canucks fan going into any type of conversation with one of those people, again, a Canucks fan, is this. What are you doing? Yes, what are you doing when the Canucks win the Stanley Cup?
A lot's changed, man, since I first became a fan in 92, 93. In 94, I thought I was going to party my ass off. In 2011, Game 7, I thought I was going to party my ass off. And I'm a changed man, let's just say now. But I would hope that I'd be able to go up to Vancouver, enjoy the parade, the victory parade, and just maybe go up to Canby for old time's sake. I used to go up to the Canby Hostel, Canby Pub when I was up there.
Nice.
Love it. Just love the people of BC, man. And if I'm not able to make it up there, I'll definitely be going crazy down here, and I'll find some of my local Canucks fans that we have here to have a good time for sure.
Bro, I don't give a beep, yo. If the Canucks win the Stanley Cup, you have to make it up here. And what do you mean? Okay, talk more about this. You're living in Texas right now. Like, were you born in Vancouver? Like, what's going on? Or are you just like, how did you become a Canucks fan? Like, what the F is going on? You've been partying at the Canby? Like, who the hell are you, dude?
Yeah, I'm a little bit of an oddball, man. I was born in Fresno, California, on the West Coast, the best coast, and I have a lot of family up in the PNW. As a kid, we used to go up there all the time. I remember the first time that we went to Victoria and we went to Vancouver, and I saw that provincial flag, and for some reason, man, I just gravitated towards it. I loved it. I still have this little mini provincial flag from BC, and then I have a big one. And as you can see, I have the Canadian-American friendship flag in the background. It's just my love for the game. But like I said, I started playing hockey at a pretty young age, and it was really NHL 92 on Nintendo. I know I'm dating my ass right now, but playing with Bure and Linden and, having McLean between the pipes. For some reason, man, it was just a natural thing for me to play with the Canucks and having the PNW roots. And there was no way in hell I was going to play with the Kings, and that was the only team in Cali at the time. So it was just natural. I'm a lifelong Seahawks fan. The blue and green, there's the similarities there. And so man, it just kind of stuck with me. But obviously I'm an orange and yellow, black and orange and yellow guy. I'm a huge skate fan. Very appreciative of Wyatt Arndt the stanchion for putting in the Free the Skate a few years back. I was a big part of that. And actually, I have this jacket. You look up here. It's an Italian leather jacket Wyatt wants to buy it from me, but I don't think I'm going to give it up. I'm not really sure.
Not a
no
chance,
way.
man. And I'm thinking too, like you became a fan in 92, 93, you said, and interesting that you went against the Kings, even though they had Gretzky at the time, right? And you still chose to be a BC Bud. What kind of captured your heart about cheering for the Canucks back in 92, 93 there? Was there a specific moment? I know it was a great year for the team, but was there something that really caught your attention about that squad?
It was the speed of Bure. But honestly, man, I love the meat and potatoes attitude of Trevor Linden. I thought he was the consummate captain. And then if you look real closely, the Algonquin Warrior, Gino Ojic, rest in peace. Loved him. Absolutely loved him. I loved watching him fight Tony Twist, Bob Probert, Ty Domi. He wasn't afraid of anybody. I remember in the playoffs against St. Louis, whenever he tried to fight the whole team half naked. Those are things that you just don't forget. And, Gino Ojic is a huge guy for me. So, and especially having his First Nation background, that is really, really cool. And actually, I'm going to be getting a cover up here at my local tattoo shop, and it's going to be the First Nations Canucks logo from 2 seasons ago that they did with the skate logo. I'm real stoked about that.
No, that's beautiful. And on the conversation of just fighting in general, like, I don't know if you've been paying attention to what Matt Rempe is doing with George LaRock, and that's causing up a huge stir that George LaRock is, holding like this fighting camp in the summer and teaching guys how to fight. And I'm just like, I'm curious, because I know fighting is never actually ever going to be eliminated from the game unless the worst of the worst does happen, and maybe they're going to have that conversation. But I'm curious if it kind of creeps back into being an important part of the game. Like, history seems to repeat itself just in the world of entertainment. And, 30 years ago, the time where you fell in love with the game, like, you can argue that fighting in hockey was at an all-time high and it was a spectacle. And bro, a part of me literally believes you're not alone when it comes to falling in love with the Canucks because you saw Gino with his shirt off fighting in the middle of the ice. Like, that is a spectacle if you're a sports fan, right? And just as human beings, we connect to things like that, some gladiator-ish. So I just want to know from both of you guys, like, and we may get canceled for this, but like, where does fighting go from here? Because I think it's going to actually ramp up.
Yeah, I'll start. I think fighting is a necessary evil, although I don't view it as an evil per se. You have to look at why was Z so popular? Z was popular because he backed up his teammates, right? So there's definitely, I think there's more of a majority that actually like fighting. And I'm not saying like the staged, like before the whistle, let's go. I'm talking about enforcers. I'm talking about guys that are protecting, the skilled players on the team, a la Marty McSorley and Wayne Gretzky. So Beggsy, I'd like to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I want to pull the stats on this, but I feel like fighting did ramp up a bit last season. And, kind of like you said, I do think, like you said, Mother Knucker, it's a quiet majority of fans that love fighting, right? Like the casual fans love fighting. I think the reason why you get so much vitriol towards it is, the reporters and the CT and all that stuff that's real and out there. But at the end of the day, it's something that's going to be inherent in the game. I think it's already organically come out to an extent, right? Like you got to be able to skate to play hockey. You can't just be, most guys who are Zadorov size don't make it because they can't skate, right? Like you got to be able to skate nowadays. But I think it's always going to be an element of that in the NHL if you can add something else to the lineup, because you got to protect your teammates. It's a physical game. It's an intense game. These guys are warriors at the top of their sport. I don't see a world where they could completely ban fighting. I know they've tried to do it in the junior leagues. I think they've kind of taken the right steps, right? If guy's helmet pops off, like, he try to protect his head, that stuff's fine. But I do think it's, like Mother Knucker said, a necessary evil in the game. And it's something that casual fans love. Again, you're going to hear a lot of hockey reporters, a lot of diehards, a lot of people who cover this game talk about the negatives of fighting. Most casual fans love fighting. Come on, go to a game and don't tell me that people get on their feet when there's a fight going on. It's just that's just the truth.
Well, okay, look at where hockey is going. Like, it's quote unquote faster than ever. I did bring up the fact that history repeats itself. Again, in the 90s, the early 90s, or the late 80s, of Gretzky, Bure, Lemieux, all these guys, and there's still Probert and Ojic, and just like things happen. Like what a spectacle! And before the lockout, remember, there's major articles being written about the NHL triumphing over the NBA, and yeah, it's because of Bure and Gretzky and all this jazz, but it's definitely because of fighting. It definitely is. It's just part of the sport, man. It's like, if you're going to ban fighting, then what, in 20 years, are they ever going to ban boxing or MMA? I know it sounds crazy what I'm saying, but it's actually just part of hockey. It's just part of hockey. It's part of the game. There's rules within fight. Like, I don't see it going anywhere, and I actually do see it ramping up, and people are going to be mad about it, but I think winning fixes everything, and more people are going to be watching. Now, before we get to the third segment, do you want to stick around for the third segment, Mother Knucker? Can you do that for us?
It's up to y'all, man. It's up to y'all.
I'm down. We'll get to some comments.
All right.
Okay, so ironically, when I called Trevor and said that you're going to come on today, we're like, oh, what should we ask him? And the one like relevant to today's Canucks question that I had was, again, your relationship with Nikita Zadorov and how you feel about him leaving, because what a fan favorite, and also again, what a team guy. I mean, early on in his tenure with the Canucks, he's out there defending Niels Höglander during a scrum against a Red Wings game in Vancouver, and like, you just, for years and years and years and years, we never saw that with the Canucks. And yeah, this team is definitely going to miss Nikita Zadorov. They are.
Yeah, sorry, I kind of drew a blank there. You know, in terms of Z, man, I get why he chased the money. I hate where he chased the money too, because you guys are aware from my comments in the chats that I can't freaking stand Boston. I hate the Bruins with a passion, but I get it. But here's the thing, you know, he's not worth that contract. He's just not. I like what he brings in the playoffs, but you have to make the playoffs in order for that to be, you know, something that's tangible. And I'm not saying that Boston won't. I think they're going to be a pretty good team, but you're really trading what could be 2 or 3 weeks of the postseason for, you know, 6-7 months of the regular season, when he really is, he's definitely a 5-6 defenseman. And so he got the extra shine, because I think we were desperate in Vancouver to have like a hero, to have somebody that really was polarizing, and the fact that he was outspoken in the media. And, you know, I do want to say something, and I did post this in our Discord. I think that if a lot of the Canucks fans found out about a lot of his political leanings, they probably wouldn't like Z as much as they do. You know, he's a pretty outspoken dude when it comes to that. But you know what? That's off the ice. Yeah. He can do whatever the hell he wants to do as long as he's not hurting anybody. But yeah, man, I'll miss him. I mean, I'll miss that style. But I think Forbort and Desharnais, Big D, as you guys like to call him, the Big D, I think they're going to do just fine with that. And I really truly believe that, like Big D said in his call, his introductory press conference, that one of the reasons that he chose Vancouver is because of our coaching staff, and is because of Adam Foote, and because of Gaunch, and guys that have won at the highest level possible. And so I truly believe that they're going to be able to transform him into a better, more consistent defenseman.
No, 100%. We'll get to the comments and all that jazz, and just talking more with Mother Knucker, one of my favorite fans of the program, probably the best American Canucks fan out there in the world. Begsy, do we have to shout out anyone before we continue the show?
Yeah, we got one more friend to shout out. It's our friends over at Game Time, and then we'll wrap up with the legend Mother Knucker and a few comments here on Locked On Canucks. You know the deal. If you're going to buy tickets to anything, you know, Major League Baseball, a little football, maybe a burlesque show, who knows? Make sure you go get those tickets on Game Time. Game Time, you know, they are an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app, you know what? They actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. You know, if you're not into Major League Baseball, you can get tickets for anything else, you know, concerts, comedy, theater, everything, okay? And I'm still getting those emails from Nicole Game Time every week teasing me with concerts and events this week in my area. There's something for everyone on Game Time, you know. And with those last-minute deals, you can save up to 60% off. What? Buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And again, they got that lowest price guarantee. There's nowhere else where you should be buying tickets. So guess we're going to buy tickets with Game Time. Download that Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
People, we back doing this, and that's talking about your Vancouver Canucks on July the 11th. July the 11th, bro. Like, what are we doing here? Like, there's no news out there, and we're here talking about the Canucks because, man, oh man, it is so cool being a Canucks fan again. I'm so effing blessed to feel more like myself. And again, I don't, for a 31-and-a-half-year-old, it may sound lame for me to say this because, you know, I should have more responsibilities, but like a big part of my DNA is cheering for a good hockey team. Real talk. Begsy, Mother Knucker, and Kyle Bowen. Bro, I'm telling you, Mother Knucker, we might have to send you a check. You might have to come back regularly, man. I'm telling you. We got to call this, like, is it going to be Fan Friday or just American Canuck? You know, I don't know. Something, man. Straight up. Anyway.
My old coworker, Jimmy Siddick, used to do that at Nucks Misconduct. I think we call it like the best knucking segment of all time or something like that, you know? And I got to ask, you know, Mother Knucker, like, how did you get that name, man? Did your mama name you Mother Knucker or what? Like, what's going on?
No, man, believe it or not, I just came up with it. I was on the Canuck, the CDC message board for years. I was actually an original and OG on that thing in like 04, 05, whatever it was. And my name on there was Ojic Will Kill You. But for some reason, and I'm still on the new Canucks fan forum as I think Ojic Will Kill You 29. But you know what, man? I don't know. It was something that stuck. I wanted to actually get it on my license plate, but I couldn't. So my license plate is actually KNUK down here in Texas for Canuck. But I just love the way it sounds. It sounds dirty, but at the same time, it's not. And you get the point that I'm a mother effing fan of my mother effing Canucks. So, you know, the point's right there.
Nah, it's a beautiful thing though. I love that name, and you know, shout out to everyone that was a part of the CDC forums back in the day. You know, a real outlet for Canucks fans, and I think I was on there too. Well, I know I was on there. I think I was Hank the Dank, and then I was Clue Chase 5 Hole. So it was a beautiful time. Some of my favorite times on the internet, still to this day, were on CDC. Okay, for real. Anyways, let's get to the comments before we get out of here. Talk more about your Canucks. So look at this comment from Bob Bluger. Okay. Theodore Bluger's cousin, I think, okay? For real. He's saying the title of this video should have been Lekkerimaki, why the Canucks need to trade him now. And I'm bringing this up because, let's be honest and let's be real, okay? There's still some holes on this team. Rutherford and Alvin like to make trades. I would not be surprised at all if 30 games into the season, Lekkerimaki gets traded to fill up one of those holes. Like, how do you guys feel about that theory possibly coming true to make this current version of the Vancouver Canucks better?
I'm open to it, to be honest with you. And it's funny. I feel a little ironic that I'm saying that after kind of talking about why I think Lekkerimaki is going to play NHL games next season. Similar to my take before, I don't think it's a likely scenario. I think it's a sub 50% scenario, but I think it's possible because, Kyle, like you alluded to, this management team has been bold. They've been aggressive, and the Canucks Cup window is now. And if they don't feel like Jonathan Lekkerimaki is going to help this team win the Cup in the next 3 years, I think there's a good chance they consider trading him. Now, to your other point, Kyle, this team, especially the OEL buyout coming, they need guys on entry-level deals, on cheap contracts to provide some cheap labor, okay? And I think Lekkerimaki could also be that guy. So if you're trading Lekkerimaki, you sure as hell better get, you know, a top-pairing defenseman or a top-line winger back in return because that's going to be a balls move if they make it. I lean towards the Canucks not doing it, but I certainly think it's a possibility.
Yeah, if I could piggyback on that, I actually watched a lot of Lekkerimaki tape last night, and I'll be honest with you, man. Before I started doing a deep dive, I was okay with it, the idea of doing that. But after listening to his coach in Örebro, Nicholas Eriksson, talk about him and how much he improved from last season to this, where he was the MVP of Örebro, and then I watched every single goal that he had in the World Juniors last year. And I'm telling you what, man, this dude is special. He has an ability to come off the low half wall and get into the high slot above the faceoff dot. And that shot is lethal, man. And I was noticing that he would come off, he would curl around the blue line. And then as soon as he would see the defenseman kind of get out of his way, on his off foot, he was still able to rip the puck through the seam and get it on net. And he's a special player. And another thing that I think is really, really important is that he's really taking his conditioning a lot more seriously. And I believe that if he comes back in this offseason and he gains about 10 pounds of muscle, I think that he can stick in this league because his shot, I'm telling you guys, his shot is lethal enough that it's already at an NHL level. And he was the MVP of the World Juniors, dude. Like, he's doing the same things that EP40 did when he was in Sweden with Vajo, except for he didn't win a championship. But a lot of similarities there, especially the sleight of frame, the tall, slender kid. But honestly, I think that he could stick. I think he's going to get a few game look in the beginning of the season. He'll probably go back to Abbey, fine-tune his game, and then I think he might end up finishing the season with us on the wing on either the first or second line. That's my 2 cents.
No, I hope so, man, because again, OEL, that buyout's going to be super expensive in 14 months, and we need a lot of value. And, you bring up a lot of the intangibles, and I like the skill and the shot and just like the offensive awareness. And don't get me wrong, I love how the Vancouver Canucks are building a team full of two-way guys and rugged guys, and it's giving this team identity and culture, but a little bit of flair, it's not a bad thing. We talked about the whole fighting thing and how that's part of the game, blah, blah, blah. But, going bar down with your shot, that's a big part of the game. For real. And we kind of need that, man. We kind of need that. It's the truth. It really is. Lekkerimaki playing for the Canucks this year? I think so. Let's get to one more comment before we get out of here. I think it's a big one. I think it had something to do with Mother Knucker being a big wrestling fan. I think it was one of your homies who left a comment. So let's end the episode off with this. We're having fun. It's July the 11th. One left to Lekkerimaki, one left to Trevor Beggs, Mother Knucker. This comment comes from Bobby Hill. Bobby Hill. Dude, okay, King of the Hill? Is this guy from King of the Hill? Anyways, man. Mother Knucker, who's your favorite wrestler, man? Who's your favorite wrestler of all time?
Oh, man. It's got to be Nature Boy Ric Flair.
Woo!
That's just I'm as old school as it gets, but my current favorite wrestler is Will Ospreay in AEW. Love him. Good high flyer, technical guy, but definitely that. Want to give a quick shout out Metroplex Wrestling here in Bedford, Texas. It's an amazing place. I trained with them once. Then I got hurt playing hockey. I'm hoping to start training with them again in September. I'm going to be 49, but my goal is to become a really shitty professional wrestler locally. And so I also want to give a shout out to Wyatt Arndt and Nation Extreme Wrestling up there in Vancouver. They're doing some big stuff. I catch them on YouTube now and then. Wyatt's a good dude. So
Wyatt's an OG, man. Straight up Canucks legend. He's got all that West Coast bias. And bro, we got to get Wyatt on the show, man. Speaking of which, man, we got to get Mother Knucker on the show. Like, I'm telling you, like, at least once a month, twice a month, 6 days a week. Who knows, man? We got to work out a new deal. One of us getting fired from Mother Knucker, man. America. Anyways, Locked On Canucks, hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you so much for joining the program today. One love. Thanks for all the support too, man. Real talk. Me and Trevor are still very much new to this. But I don't know. Like, I feel as if we should be grateful every day because Beggsy and I are allowed to just kind of live our dreams by talking to you and you and you and you. Speaking of you and you and you and you, again, hit the like button, subscribe, and join the Discord, man. Join the conversation. Talk about the Canucks with some good Canucks fans while you're on the toilet. You want to talk about living the dream? That's living the dream. Beggsy, you got anything else to say?
And no, we're nothing without the people, and that includes Mother Knucker, man. And I think I saw your little Maple Leaf Stars tattoo. I got my my Celtic Maple Leaf here as well. So we got something in common there, brother. Good stuff. Appreciate you coming on today. Of course, aside from Mother Knucker, we got to shout out the everydayers, the occasional listeners, the first-time listeners, the new subscribers, and those of you who joined us on the live show on YouTube. Whenever you're listening, wherever you're listening, we appreciate the hell out of you for tuning in to Locked On Canucks. Now, Colin, we did a little brainstorm yesterday, so we got episodes lined up for the next few days. And one of the big things we want to touch on is the story of JT Miller. How the hell did this guy go from traded twice to one of the best damn centers in the NHL? Let's break that down on an upcoming episode of Locked On Canucks. All that and more. But for now, we got to get out of here. My name's Trevor Beggs. That guy is Mother Knucker, and you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.
Peace, peace, peace.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver